Uncle Jay here. I hope everyone's having a nice start to the weekend. Before you know it, it'll be over. I was watching the hockey game tonight. My favorite team is Toronto. You might have seen my t-shirt with the Toronto Maple Leafs on it in a previous video. But they're not doing good. They're not even doing good this season. They're not going to be making the playoffs probably, as they're down. The last time I looked, 4-1. But what I wanted to talk to you tonight is about my previous jobs. One was at a veterinary clinic in Rochester, and one was at Senica Park Zoo in Rochester, New York. At Seneca Park Zoo, I started out as seasonal labor, then became heavy labor, then became zookeeper, and then became night watchman. And it was a beautiful, fantastic job. I got to feed all the baby animals up in the nursery where, because the animals were in captivity, they didn't have the natural ability to tend to their young. So that was unbelievable. And then I would have a playpen where I could play with the little black leopard cubs, tiger cubs, wolf cubs, so on and so forth. I know I say that a lot. I apologize. But when I was night watchman, it would get kind of boring. But we did have to do our rounds once an hour. And that was a big area. And we had to count all the animals inside, outside, check all the locks, bring up any eggs that have hatched and put them in the incubator. So one night I got kind of bored, and I was going by the tiger cage, and I decided that I was going to open up the door, obviously, which was not a good idea. So the door is about that wide and very heavy. And you pull it up by a chain, and obviously it slides on a track, and then you hook the hook on the side of the cage. So I did that, and I probably opened it 3 or 4 feet, maybe more, I'm not quite sure. And all of a sudden, in a blur, I was patting the tiger on its pets, and all of a sudden, in a blur, he just came out and attacked me. He ripped open my finger, put his front paw deep with its claws in my arm, and that was painful. And in the commotion and the vibration of it all, the hook came off the fence, the door slammed down, it hit the tiger in the shoulders, and he went back in his cage. So I did not want to get in trouble for it. Like I said, obviously it was the wrong thing to do. So I threw a piece of paper in the cage, and my story was going to be that I was trying to get a piece of paper out of the cage. And the scary thing is, once the door closed, and I was bleeding quite a bit, the tiger was licking up my blood. So you know he wanted me as a piece of meat. So I don't think anybody really believed that I was trying to get a piece of paper out of the cage, but I was trying to cover myself, cover my mistakes. But I had to call Frank Belty, who was a zoologist, and he had to come in and take over my shift. Well, my father came in and took me to the hospital, and I was in the emergency room on a bed, and a nurse came in and said, "I heard you were cut changing a tire." And I said, "No, I was clawed by a tiger." And she said, "Clawed by a tiger?" And I said, "Yes, clawed by a tiger." So unfortunately, what happens if, the news media checks different injuries that come into the hospitals, and if it's something unusual, they take notice. So the next day, in the B sections of the Time Union in Rochester, New York, years ago, there was a big article night watchman that clawed by tiger. So that was not a good thing. And I got put on probation for a while, but because I was in the union, and you almost can do anything and never get fired. You know, they're there to protect your job. So I was put on probation for a while and then got off of it. And that was the story of that. And another thing I wanted to mention is that when I was a zookeeper during the day, there was an enclosure, they had fruit bats in it, and they hung from trees. Now, if anybody knows anything about fruit bats, they can weigh up to 3 pounds, and the wingspan can be 6 to 7 feet. And they have a long body. So I had to go in their enclosure and take a bowl of fruit, and I had to duck down really far. And so, I wouldn't hit them. And it just was kind of creepy to me, even though they're nocturnal, so they were sleeping. So that's it about my story of my jobs at Seneca Park Zoo. And remember, do unto others as you would like to be done to yourself, and stay positive and kind, and never give up. And until the next time, adios.